Welcome to the episode 3 of Formula One: The Whole Story. Formula One had started to become safer, but it was also becoming something else: smarter, faster, more controlled. By the early 1970s, the sport was no longer just about brave drivers. Now something else was taking over. Engineering. Teams were no longer just fixing cars, they were studying them, testing ideas, trying to understand one simple question: how do we go faster without just adding more power? For years, speed came from engines. More horsepower, more noise, more straight-line speed. But engineers began to notice something different: the air. At first, air was seen as a problem. It slowed the car down. It created resistance. But what if it could be used? Some engineers started thinking differently. When a car moves fast, air flows around it. But if you shape the car in the right way, that air can push the car down, hold it to the track, give it more grip. This idea changed everything, because now speed was not just about going faster in a straight line. It was about going faster through corners. And in Formula One, corners are where races are won. One team saw this before anyone else: Lotus. Lotus began working on something new, something that looked strange, but worked in a way no one expected. They shaped the sides of the car like upside-down wings. They added parts that sealed the air underneath. When the car moved, it created suction. It pulled itself down to the track. This was called ground effect. When it worked, it felt like magic. Cars could take corners faster than ever before. Drivers felt the car stick to the road. Grip levels increased. Confidence increased. Speed increased. In 1977, the Lotus 78 arrived. At first, other teams didn't fully understand it, but they saw the results. It was faster, much faster. Suddenly, everything changed. Every team wanted the same advantage. The sport turned into a race of ideas. Not just drivers, not just engines, but design. Formula One had entered a new era, the engineering era. But there was a problem. These cars were not normal. They depended on perfect airflow. If something went wrong, the grip disappeared instantly. One moment, the car felt stable. The next moment, it didn't. Drivers were now pushing machines that behaved differently. More grip than ever before, but also more risk. The forces inside the car increased. Cornering became more intense. The body felt the pressure. The speed felt different. Everything was happening faster. Still, no one wanted to slow down, because in Formula One, if you don't improve, you fall behind. So teams kept pushing: more experiments, more ideas, more speed. At the same time, something else was changing. Formula One was growing. Sponsors began appearing on cars. Brands saw opportunity. Money started flowing into the sport. Teams became bigger, more professional, more organized. Garages became workshops. Workshops became laboratories. Formula One was no longer just racing. It was becoming a business. And with more money came more development, more testing, more innovation. Then came another step forward: turbo engines. These engines were small, but powerful, very powerful. They produced speed that shocked even the drivers. Acceleration increased. Top speeds increased. Everything became more intense. Now combine that with ground effect, cars that stuck to the road, and engines that pushed them harder than ever before. Formula One was becoming extreme. Drivers had to adapt quickly. These cars demanded precision, focus, control. One mistake could still end everything. But to the fans, it looked incredible. Cars moved like they were glued to the track. Speeds looked unreal. The sport felt futuristic. Formula One had changed again. But just like before, there was a question waiting in the background: how much is too much? Technology was moving fast, very fast, sometimes faster than the rules. And once again, the sport was heading toward another turning point, because Formula One had learned how to design speed. But controlling that speed was becoming a new challenge. The next era would bring more power, more rivalries, more drama, and drivers who would define the sport forever. The story continues.